Good evening, Interworld. Sergeant Slack here from Banana One Productions. Welcome you back to this episode 3 of Defiance. So since I'm doing things differently in April, which it still is April, yes it is, I thought I'd do something which I don't usually do, which is sort of like a first impressions video review, sort of mini review of Defiance, the game. And so we're going to talk about a bit about the game and how I think it's doing, how I think it'll stack up in the future, and generally just what the game is. So, we will start off. The footage in the background, by the way, is from very early on. I'm level 40, and this is my first arc fall, and then later on we'll see my first major arc fall. So these are things, if you don't know what's going on right now in the game, don't worry, neither did I when I was doing it. So, Defiance, it had a lot of issues on launch. Thankfully I wasn't privy to a lot of these issues because I didn't buy it straight away. I sort of ummed and ahed about buying the game for a week, and by the time I got to playing, a lot of the issues with launch were fixed. But from what I've seen from other people's footage on YouTube, it was terrible. Mounts not working, people clipping through the floor, all the problems that the original PC port of GTA 4 had. And this, unfortunately, is something that's become quite common, not only in the gaming industry, but in software industry completely, really, which is rushing a product out the door. Now, this is something they're also underestimating, and I don't believe it's that these companies underestimate how many people are going to be playing the launch, what kind of server load they're going to have. I think it's they just go, oh, let's go with the cheapest option that we'll have that should cover everything, and then people can just put up with the problems if they don't like it. And it's bad. It's bad and it's wrong. It's something that EA do, which means, you know, having them... congratulations to EA, by the way, having been voted second worst company of the year for the second year running. So yeah, kudos to them. And Defiance, yeah, they did a lot of the same things that EA did with SimCity. They didn't provide enough servers, so there were big queue times. And essentially what they released is a fairly polished beta. I mean, the game's a little bit glitchy in places, but it's mostly the back end. Although I did try and do a time trial in one of my episodes, and yeah, it didn't work. Just flat out didn't work. You had to drive through things about 4 times. So this game is not without its problems. I would not say that this is, you know, a release candidate. I would say that this is a fairly polished beta, and it plays like one in a way. There's a lot of raggedy edges to this game. So if you're looking for something polished and beautiful, then, I mean, don't get me wrong, the game's pretty damn good looking. The textures don't look shabby at all. The monsters move fluidly, you move fluidly. The only thing that's a little bit jerky movement wise is the cars and bikes and things. And overall, it's a very playable game. It's just not as polished as I think it should be. If you're going to release software, then I like the olden days, because in the olden days there weren't internet patches to fix things, you know. I mean, you didn't release, but that was good. That was good for the games, because people didn't release games that were half finished. And this does feel a little bit that way, as if it's been rushed out the door because the TV show's starting and they've got to get it out and got to get it up and ready for people. But Treon have done a good job, and it's a very playable game, as you will see. This brings me on to the next point I have on my list here. See, list. And not that you can see, but you know. The next thing I have on my list here is the TV tie-in, which, for those of you that don't know, there is... Ooh, nice bit of green loot there. There's no idea what it was. Oh, it was a grenade launcher, wasn't it? There is a TV tie-in with the Sci-Fi Channel. They are running... I don't know how the game ties in with it, whether decisions you make in the game affect what happens on the TV show. But as they've probably already wrapped on Series 1, I would now not think that is going to happen. My thoughts on the TV tie-in now is that it's going to be alongside the storyline. But I don't mind that, because it gives me a really good, lazy way to learn all the lore of this new universe that I've been thrust into. Without having to read books and read rangy internet forum posts about all the lore. I could just watch it on TV, and then I'll know a lot more about the background as to why I'm actually in a field shooting this big crystal thing with its blisters and whatever else you get up to. So, the game itself, I've got the PC version, and the way the game works, sort of the menus, those kind of things, you can tell it's been done to accommodate consoles. And, you know, I'm an avid PC gamer, and it's not that I hate consoles, I just prefer PC gaming as a platform. I think it's a lot easier, it's a lot more customizable, and you can get a better looking game for your money. It also doesn't have all the problems that the next generation of consoles are going to have. Well, it does in EA's case. Where it doesn't suffer from the same problems in consoles in that the hardware ages really badly. I mean, 7 years, 5 to 7 years is a long time in tech terms, and stuff gets outdated quite quickly. So, the menus are a little bit awkward, a little bit jerky. There's like an L menu, there's an escape menu, there's like a spacebar menu when you're in your menus. It's a little bit all on top of itself, and it would be much easier if it was laid out a little better. But that's not the core of the game. The core of the game is, see, nice segue, is shooting. It's a third-person shooter. It's an MMORPG third-person shooter. So, I mean, this is why I ummed and ahed about it, because I've wanted to play a first-person shooter MMO for ages. I've had a really good idea of how it should work and how it should look and how things should happen. And unfortunately, Defiance doesn't do it. Oh, here we are. This is the major Arcfall footage. So this is what happens after you get several Arcfalls all together, and then some of them you get this big major Arcfall, and you have this humongous boss fight to do at the end of it all. And yeah, I was running around like a madman, not knowing what the hell was going on. But it was still a lot of fun nonetheless. So, the most important mechanic for me in this game is it's got to be the shooting, because it's a third-person shooter. And I didn't like the other one that began with an R, not Rift, the other one. There was like a Rise one, where basically every time you aimed your weapon and took a shot, it rolled the virtual dice for you to see whether you'd hit and how much damage. No. This is just a straight shooter, and I'm not really keen on third-person shooters. They always feel weird, and rotating around an axis that's not supposed to like first person, to me, I find really off-putting. But thankfully, the only thing that I find really off-putting about the third person in this game is getting on a ladder, because I put the ladder in the middle of the screen and then I missed the ladder and then I got stuck behind it. But I have trouble with ladders in games anyway. I'm useless at them. So the third person feel, it's actually quite nice. I think this is the first third-person shooter I've played that I've really enjoyed. And it's quite nice because it feels quite twitchy. It feels a lot like, sort of like those little twitch shots you used to do in Quake with the railgun. It does feel a lot like that, especially when you've got a spec like mine where you're running around in the fray with a shotgun. You can get some nice unscoped twitches, and then you can aim up down the sights for greater accuracy, and do a bit more accurate shooting. The shooting is excellent fun, which is why I've been playing the hell out of this game. I've been saving the missions to do on camera, but I'm now like level 270, I'm level 40 here. So, what else apart from the shooting is there in Defiance? Slurp a tea and I will tell you. You've got the time trials, which are sort of like little, well, like they say, a little time trial race thing over a course set in the open world. They've got a nice mechanic on that where you can just try again at the end. You don't have to ride all the way back to where the thing is and do it again. So that's good. Rampages, which is kind of like survival mode or horde mode, where you're given a weapon and a small area which you can stay in, usually without cover, and you have to just kill as many mutants as possible. Mummies. So you've got the rampages, then you've got the Arcfalls and the major Arcfalls. So the Arcfall, which was the one we saw first, stuff falls out of the sky, there's several waves of bad guys to defeat, and yeah, that's pretty much it. You get a few of the hard ones like the elites, and not very much else to do. This, however, the major Arcfall, is the combination of dealing with several little arcs that spawn in with a big major Arcfall, and then you get onto this massive boss fight, which has got a couple of stages. You've got this thing that comes out and flies around, you need to shoot that. And there's other stuff that pops out of the ground, and you need to shoot that. And then it's pretty mental, especially here. I mean, look at all the purple dots on the mini-map are people. Like people, not NPCs, like actual other people. So there's probably about 60, 70 of us there. And yeah, it stacks up. And it feels good. That was the one thing I was saying about this game to people when they're asking me what it was like. Is it feels good. At level 40 here, I feel powerful. I don't feel like, oh, I'm only hitting for 4 damage like you do when you start a character in WoW. It feels awesome. You've got all the privileges, and it's just that you can then get better ones. See, this is the menu system. Little bit clunky to find your way around at first, because it's been written to accommodate consoles. Yeah, that's it, really. That's why it's horribly wrong. Ooh, that's a big... and then you get the Hellbug Monarchs. They suck. Most enemies, like if you see his orange underbelly there, most enemies have a place where you can get critical hits. So they're like headshots, so they do a lot more damage. So that's pretty much what you get up to, and then there's all the missions. So you have episode missions. You can see the TV stars, as it were, appear as a little star on the map, and they're just out wandering in the environment, which is quite cool. There's a lot of stuff to accidentally come across, which is why I haven't felt the need to crack on with the missions, is because you're wandering around. There's an Arkfall, you go and do that, and the way back from the Arkfall to what you were going to do, there's a little event happening in the middle of the road, which rewards you with all the things that you collect that I have no idea what I need them for, like key code thingies and script. But I've nearly got enough script for a Dodge Challenger, and why wouldn't I have a Dodge Challenger? I'd drive that game, and I'd drive that car in real life, so I'm definitely going to drive it in a game. So, we've talked about the shooting side, so how does it stack up on an MMO kind of side? Compared to WoW, it's nowhere near as polished. I mean, it's bound not to be. It's only just come out, and it's probably been pushed out a little earlier than it should. It's not as obvious as sort of like other games, because I roamed all over the map, and I didn't get my buttocks particularly handed to me more in one area than another. There were different sort of tribes of people living in different areas. Now, I haven't got too far into the factions, into the gun modding, into that side of things, because that's the stuff that's all sort of a little overwhelming when you first start an MMO, is what everything does. So I've just been running around playing the game, just shooting stuff basically, and it is great fun. It's a nice combat system. There's no cover system, which shouldn't be in games anyway. I hate cover systems, man. There's just no point to them. They just ruin the immersion for me, because it's like, if you want to hide, then you hide and you peek your head out and you risk getting shot. I'm not even a fan of leaning around corners. That's why I never use it in Dishonored. So how does it compare to WoW? You feel powerful straight away as soon as you get going in the game, which is good. There's no like slowly going through the early levels where you've just got to hit things for. No, you get straight out there and start doing Arkfalls. I'm level 40. That's only like 20 levels further on than the tutorial level when I first got into the game. Fresh into the game, know nothing about it, and here I am running around collecting stuff, shooting things. It's awesome fun. So, the big question, of course, is, should you buy Defiance? Should you buy Defiance? I mean, that is entirely up to you. I hope I've given you my opinion. Well, I've definitely given you my opinion, but I hope I've given you enough to work with as to whether that allays your fears with this game. Because my fear was, don't like third-person shooters because the action feels clunky, and, you know, it's just not my preferred way of doing it. It throws off my entire aiming and things, and sometimes it can add to a game, but for the majority of the time, for me, it massively detracts, because I like fast, old fast-paced shooters more like Quake than Counter-Strike. And I've never really been a fan of the ultra-realistic games in any sense, because I mean, games for me are great. You get to do all the things you can't do in real life, so why do I want to be that realistic? It's like weird. So it's entirely up to you, as I was saying earlier. The shooting is good for me. It feels good. It's a nice fast-paced shooter. If you like games like Quake, go for it. It's probably going to be right up your tree. The MMO side of things, there's not a lot of player communication in the game. I mean, I'm here with all these 60 people, and I never talk to any of them. The times when I have talked in the game, it's been like, nice, thanks. No one says thanks back. No, well, a couple of people have. But of the 100 people that attend the Major Arkfall, very few of them will actually stick around and talk to you. So definitely bring your friends with you if you're coming. I haven't really had too much problem with connection issues and stuff like that, apart from my own problem with the internet. And that is the end of the Major Arkfall, and we could all run around in the big blitz. I presume this is nicked straight out of Rift, because I've seen similar things for Rift. But it does look damn cool. So, I hope you guys enjoyed, and enjoyed listening to me babble about Defiance, and I hope you have now a clearer picture of what the game is and whether it'll tick the boxes for you. For me, it's not going to replace WoW by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, all the time I've spent playing Defiance has made me want to go back and play WoW more, because it ticks a lot more of the MMORPG boxes for me. But it is like, what, 9-10 years old now, so it's bound to do that. They're a lot more polished, so I'm curious to see what the future will hold for this Defiance, not Rift, yep, Defiance. So, this is Sergeant Slack from Banana Bomb Productions. It's saying thanks very much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe if you did, and I will catch you next time. Ta-ra.